Hello, the Board of Trustees of Harris County Department of Education now convened in a regular board meeting on Wednesday, November 20th, 2019, in the boardroom at 6300 Irvington Boulevard, Houston, Texas at 1:03 p.m. I wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone present at this meeting of the Board of Trustees. As trustees, we are here to set goals, listen to reports from the superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, personal appointments, and make policy for the district. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the department are the responsibility of the superintendent. We have policies and procedures in place to resolve concerns. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. Prior to this meeting, board members received information related to items on today's agenda. Agenda items will not necessarily be handled in the order listed on the notice. The meeting is open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. During the course of this meeting, the board may determine that a closed session is necessary. In that event, the board will meet in closed session to consider matters duly posted for this meeting as permitted by sections 551.71 through .084, inclusive of the Texas Government Code. I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking and that cell phones are turned off or in the silent position. Thank you for taking time this afternoon and join us and for your interest in the Harris County Department of Education. Okay, first thing, we need Dennis Calloway. He's going to give us our invocation. Please stand.
Good afternoon. The invocation. We are meeting today to conduct matters of business, guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Import your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Amen.
Yi Ren, she'll give us our pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee. Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, now we're going to go to the public forum. And the first on the list is Colleen Vera.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Colleen Vera. I'm a retired Texas public school teacher, and I'm here today not about an agenda item, but to request an agenda item for another month. Hiring an internal auditor who reports directly to this board. Recently, the importance of an internal auditor was made really important at TSU. It was the Board of Regents and their internal auditor that turned the indiscrepancies that they found over to authorities to be investigated. It's really important when you're talking about public funds to have more than one set of eyes looking at the different things that are going on. So I think an internal auditor would be really helpful. A large role in y'all's job as elected trustees is to watch over our money. Yet when you guys have a question, you keep asking the superintendent to give you a report a following month. That's really inefficient. There should be somebody that you guys call that works for you, that when you have questions about funds, that you can get reports directly from them in the order that you need it and not have to wait a month to get that information. And also to look for things that are out of the ordinary, such as in this month's check registry, chair massages. I looked up on their website and they're $25 each, and y'all spent $480 on chair massage. A retired employee getting a check for $5,218, and in the lines below it says from October 1st, 2019 to March 31st, I'm assuming 2020. Generally retired employees don't end up getting extra checks. Google ads, $5,000 in Google ads over a 10-day period. That's more than most businesses in Houston spend. A department-wide luncheon for $2,400. That's a lot of food. One luncheon ticket for $125. And my favorite was back in May. It was a check to a board member who hasn't been here for quite a few years, Deborah Kerner, for $303. And supposedly it's like a reimbursement for a check that was lost. I've never known any government entity you can come back years later and say, I lost a check and I need it reissued years down the road. That's why I believe an internal auditor would really, really help you guys watch the funds and give much more confidence to the public that the funds are being used properly. Thank you.
Thank you. And Josh Wallenstein.
Mr. President. So thank you for your time. My name is Josh Wallenstein. I'm a compliance and ethics attorney, and I am also a firm believer in our constitutional and democratic values and the rights and obligations that they present. And I believe in constitutional democracy. That is why, though we may disagree on many substantive issues, I am glad that you, President Flynn, have officially filed with the Republican Party for a seat in the Texas legislature. And like you, I'm a patriot, and I believe in America, and I believe in our constitutional values, and like you, I support and defend our Texas Constitution, and I'm glad that you and I pledge allegiance to the Constitution of this state at each and every single meeting here. That Constitution, that Texas Constitution, says in Article 3, Section 19, no person holding lucrative office under this state shall be eligible to the legislature. Now, we know that you all, when you show up, are not paid very much for your services here. We are grateful for your service, but it is beyond dispute that you each serve in a lucrative elected position. And so the question is, President Flynn, not whether you must resign your current seat, it is when you must resign your current seat to be eligible to run for the legislature. And now you have not hired me as your compliance attorney. I assume after this speech you probably won't do so. But I'll give you some free case analysis anyway. There was a 1992 case from the Texas Supreme Court holding that a former regent of TSU could be seated as a legislator because he resigned 4 years prior. This case is different because, for now, you remain in seat and are therefore ineligible to file for the legislature, and you have. And so I know that you believe in the Texas Constitution, and I know that you believe in our courts. And the only two ways to comply with both our Constitution and Supreme Court precedent is either resign your position or withdraw your filing. I look forward to your prompt position and decision because the voters and this board and the Harris County Department of Education all deserve to know what your decision will be.
Thank you very much. That was the last speech, so moving on to the business. Presentation of the 2020 Texas Association of School Business Officials Award Merit for Purchasing Operations. Dr. Jesus Amezcua.
The 2019, we received a notice that Texas Association of School Business Officials has awarded and the purchasing award of merit for purchasing operations to Harris County Department of Ed. This is the 9th year in a row that we received this recognition, and we would like to present this to the board and also recognize our purchasing staff and our choice staff that are part of this this program and this award. Could you guys please stand? They're not here. They're out there. Oh, okay. I know they were here.
Wonderful. Good job, guys. And I guess you have another thing to go.
Yes, we have actually two more. Stephanie? We also received notice and it's in your packet that the Government Finance Officers Association has awarded a Certificate of Achievement in Excellence in Financial Reporting for last year's CAFRA and year-end result, and also the from the Association of School Business Officials and also the Government Finance Officers Association. We have the business office who's responsible for preparing a lot of the documents that you see month to month and annually for reports. So I would like to recognize him as well, if you could please stand. Thank you.
So that was both of them, right? Yep. Okay. The annual update from the Center of Safe and Secure Schools. Julia Andrews.
Good afternoon, Board President, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Colbert. My name is Julia Andrews, and I'd like to present the Center for Safe and Secure Schools year-end report. May I proceed? Thank you. First, I'd like to introduce my team. You'll have to look at the picture because everyone is gone except one. Dennis Calloway is here, our grant manager. 2 are in a mandatory training, and 1 is homesick with a new baby. Thank you. Dennis, you wanna stand? Thank you. We have a quick year in review in our video. Uh-oh. Thank you, and that was our year in review and a few photos via video. Who we are, the Center for Safe and Secure Schools was established in 1999 at the request of superintendents to advance the safe and secure environments for learning. This was right after the Columbine shooting in 1999. We were established. We are a center that seeks to innovative opportunities to continue to build more safe and secure learning environments. A few of our services available, and we are following the new House bill and Senate bill updates. We have our state mandated facility safety and security audits for Harris County schools and facilities. Ongoing opportunities to train through threat assessment, intruderology, active shooter, human trafficking, and restorative practices, just to name a few. And of course, trauma and resilience and youth mental health first aid. We serve a total of 33 district memberships, 25 are in county, and 8 out of county school districts here in the Houston area. Through professional development in county, we have served over the year 4,352 adults and 396 out of county through our professional development and our risk management teams. And we have quite a few new collaborative partners in the last year. Just a few include the Harris County Emergency Management, Harris County Sheriff's Office, City of Houston Emergency Management, United Way, Mental Health of America, and the Behavior Centers of America, the Houston chapter. Our trends and challenges going forward, meeting the safety and security needs of all districts with limited staff. We're a staff of just 5. Expanding our offerings through various media platforms such as webinars, and we are going to continue our partnership with national and statewide organizations to provide trainings for our districts. Our client satisfaction survey, we are very excited about that. At 91% are satisfied with our services. My goal this year is to at least hit 98%, so we're right on target. And our goals moving forward, our biggest one is to deliver strong internal support to HCDE, our schools and facilities, as well as our in-county and out-of-county districts. And that is my presentation. Thank you.
Questions from the board?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Andrews, thank you for that report.
Thank you.
So is one of the things that you help coordinate are like active shooter trainings in the
Yes,
schools?
sir.
Okay. Do you find that the school district police are engaged? Are they taking it serious? Or?
Yes, we've actually had about 3, and each one we have more and more, and we're coordinating with the Houston Police Department, so they're actually going out to the districts. It's a little easier for them to go, for us to go out to them than them to come to us, and so we are working with Crime Stoppers in the Houston Police Department to facilitate those active shooter trainings. Our next one is January 21st.
In the outlying areas, do you work with the sheriff's office?
We do. We just had our school safety forum in partnership with the Harris County Sheriff's Office, and Sheriff Ed Gonzalez was a big part of our planning and attended that with his with his officers.
In my day job, I coordinate a contract with the sheriff's office, and I've heard some feedback from our deputies that in a recent active shooter training with one of the local school districts, that they didn't feel the school PD was as engaged as they needed to be, and it was just kind of concerning to hear that. And so I wanted to hear your perspective on that.
Yes, so we can, I guess, talk offline and see how we can develop some more partnerships. I'm not sure which one that would be, but definitely we can help. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Next up is Research and Evaluation Institute. Darlene Bro.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, Board President, trustees, and Superintendent Colbert. My name is Darlene Bro, and I am the director, the proud director of the Research and Evaluation Institute. Would you allow me to introduce my team?
Please do.
Wonderful. I would like my team to stand, one of the most hard-working teams that supports every one of our divisions. Let's give them a hand. I heard a quote a while back. It said, "I am because we are," and that truly speaks volumes for my team. Thank you very much. So I don't have a nice video and like my colleague here, but many times people ask, what does research and evaluation do? And so if any of you have ever seen the movie Hidden Figures, and it was about these human computers that worked for NASA, and they coordinated they calculated the launch and landing coordinates for the astronauts. Well, I kind of think of my team like them. Because we gather all of this data and we crunch these numbers, and then we put it out to our stakeholders in a way that they can understand, but they can also use for program improvements and their program evaluation. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what we do. We have 2 arms to our division. I would say that's accountability and also research. Our accountability department works with all of our internal divisions, and and we help them to set and monitor their yearly goals, their accountability goals. And then our research department, we work on different types of research, but one that we're working with our grants department and our adult ed and some of our community colleges. We're working on a grant to look at our young women and their involvement in these non-traditional careers like welding and cabinet, building and cabinet making, construction. So those are some of the research that we do. We have, for our internal accountability, our two big ones are Head Start and Case for Kids, and I actually have two of my team that is solely dedicated to both, and they provide their annual and their all of the reporting that's required for their grants. Also, we do our research, our white papers and briefs, and all of these are available on our webpage. One of the things I do want to point out is a little over a year ago, we worked directly with Spring Branch ISD and conducted a case study on their implementation of restorative practices. And we actually worked alongside the Center for Safe and Secure Schools. And so we did a desk audit, we did surveys of their students and staff and parents, and also focus groups. And the report, the final report and the work that we did actually got national attention. So we're excited about that. Also, college and career readiness. This is just a little infograph, one of the infographics that we put out, and this is important because this is college and career readiness is part of STAR accountability. So we provide resources to our districts that they can use real time, and also shoot these out, e-blast them out to principals and district officials. Briefs. I mentioned that we also put out briefs. Now, many of you all have seen lots of information in the media regarding tobacco use and vaping. Well, we put out a little brief just regarding, school policy, prevention programs, and resources to our districts, and we have gotten feedback that has been extremely helpful. Some of our special projects, again, we work with our divisions. As you can see, it's with Choice Partners, our Child and the Nutrition and Product Expo. We were excited. The students that attend, they actually scan that little QR code for the food that they sample, and they are able to actually say whether they liked or disliked it. And what that does is it gives the vendors an idea of what the students are looking for in their breakfast and lunch programs. We had a little over 100 vendors, more than 600 types of food, and the kids kids and adults seem to really, really enjoy it. Our accountability, we had our data share, and this is our second one, and we had over 80 attendees there. One of the big things that we do is our Head Start community assessment, and we work with 4 of the Head Start grantees. And this assessment, it helps to guide their programming and their work, and it identifies trends and patterns within the community. And it's actually a 5-year study. We are excited that we have received a 94% satisfaction rating, client satisfaction rating, and again, we are pushing for even higher in this coming year. Again, some of our challenges, as always, just making sure that we are providing timely deliverables and informations to our stakeholders, working with our partners, making sure that we're balancing our internal and external needs, and increasing our visibility within the community. And that's it.
Thank you. How many do you have on your staff?
8. There's a total of 8 of us.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Y'all do all this with 8 people.
Yes, we do.
Good work.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? The next. Next up is James Colbert Jr.
Thank you, President. Just two things to report. Many of y'all had the opportunity to participate in our celebration downstairs where Harris County Department of Ed was ranked or identified as one of the top places to work in Greater Houston, and that's a huge accomplishment for us. We are extremely excited. We were able to attend an event last week where only the companies who made the cut, there were 330 companies that applied, and only 150 of them made the cut. I found out at the event that you had to have an 87% approval rating by staff just to be able to make the cut to be one of the finalists. So great honor. Those of y'all who were able to go downstairs and fellowship with our fellow employees got to see me do a little bit of break dancing. You know, we get ranked higher next year, I might do a little bit more just for an incentive. So truly an honor, and absolutely an honor to be part of such a distinguished company and business. So next thing I'd like to do is just bring everyone's attention that Thanksgiving is next week, and so many of our employees will be enjoying time with their family. This is a time throughout the entire state where many employees will take the whole week off, but just really important for our staff to enjoy their time with family and fellowship with them and get rested, because when they come back, there's still work that needs to be done. There is somewhat of a grind that happens between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and we need to acknowledge that and not take our foot off the pedal. So I hope everybody, including our board and our trustees, have a safe and a happy holiday with their family. With that, that's it.
Thank you. Okay, there's no feasibility report, so we'll move on to other reports that the board members. Anybody go into any seminars or anything like that? Okay, I was at the TASB legal seminar back in November 1st, and a lot of things, we had some changes in the legislature, and I wanted to talk to those guys personally. Of course, we had the new forum requirements for people to be able to speak. They talked about that. They also talked about a thing called Team of 8. I don't know if we have Team of 8 requirements or not. I'd like to see what that. But they also said that they offer a HR review. And then there was one thing in particular, because we had a deal with lobbying. They said that there's a disclosure cost that TASB is supposed to give us for how much of our dues are used for lobby purposes. If there's a way I can get that number, that would be great. Okay. And with that, everything else is pretty much standard. Go ahead.
I believe both Trustee Norris and I attended some meetings a couple of weeks ago with one of our assistant U.S. Secretaries of Education, and he was here for 3 meetings that day. Danny made the first one, I made the second 2, and that was a really interesting experience. So.
Thank you.
Thank you for reminding me. So yes, we met over in A-Leaf. So it's their Center for Career and Technical Programs. So they have programs for automotive, pharmacy. I mean, they have all kind of different career paths where the students have a chance to actually get some practice. They have welding, they have robotics. So Assistant Secretary of Education came down and had a chance to tour their campus. So it was both he and people like myself and Trustee Wolf got a chance to actually go check out the programs they had going on that way as well. And as they're having that discussion, having their discussion both here and nationally. So it was a good time. Thank you for reminding me, Trustee Wolf, because my week has been that crazy after a week.
Well, in fact, I was supposed to be at that first 8 a.m. meeting, and I overslept. So I met him and some of the other trustees at the second meeting. Then the assistant secretary and I went down to Pasadena from A-Leaf. And as I told Superintendent Colbert earlier today, the superintendent and the principal at this school in Pasadena would like for all of us to come out to that campus, and I'd recommend we do that at some point.
Thank you, Trustee Wolf. Any others? Okay, you're up, Dr. Amos. My Mesqua. And sorry about my cold or throat or whatever the issue is in my throat.
The first report of the highlights for October 31st, 2019. We'll review the interim financial statements, the budget amendment. All our reports are posted on our website. In the balance sheet as of October 31st, we have assets of $31,372,157, liabilities of $1,975,080, fund equity of $29,397,077, total equity and appropriated year-to-date of $31,372,157. Our fund balance is at $29,412,165. We have some a variance of $15,088 for the first 2 months. In the January meeting, we will present the fund balance and how we will end up as of August 31st. The ratios, being that the second month of the year, some of them are going to look a little funny because not all the data is in for the year, so it's only 2 months reflected here. And so we have what's the percentage of the fund balance of the general fund expenditures. We're at 301% versus 569% of a year ago. Again, we target that to be about 30%. Working capital ratio, we're at $29 million, the same as we were at last year, and we budget that to be about approximately $33 million for the year. Our unassigned fund balance ratio, we're at 72% versus 57% last year. We generally are about 87% at the end of the year. Our debt-to-income ratio, we cannot calculate that because we have not to make any payments until February when we make our first payment. Tax revenue to total revenue ratio, we're at 0%. We have not collected other than $566 from last year. We will start receiving some of the collections here in the month of December, and then you'll start seeing most of them in December and January. Indirect cost ratio, we're at 4%, different than last year of 0%, but we're budgeted to be at 3% for the overall portion of the year. Fee for service revenue ratio, we're at 23%, which was a comparison of 29% a year ago. We budgeted that number to be about 44% at the end of the year. Fee for service revenue growth ratio, right now we're at -13. It's the second month of the year, and part of that is because we're just about to bill the schools, special schools, so it'll be about $4 million coming in the next month, so that you'll see that number change in the next month. Our fund balance is budgeted, budget amendments throughout the first 2 months, there were none. Revenues for budget to actual, we're at 7%. The first year, we're typically about, the second month, we're at 17%, so we have revenues of about 7%. There's about $4 million that we're still going to be collecting, or rather billing, here next month for our special schools. Special revenues at 5%. Overall, we're at 7% in budget to actual. Our total amended budget, and you'll see some of the amendments that we're going to present this month, $114 million in revenues and $130 million in appropriations. Expenditures were at 15%, slightly about 2% under the norm. Special revenues are at 12%, and overall we're at 15% for the year. Donations for the month of October were $6,983.69, and that is $750 in cash and $6,233 in in-kind, and that's for the Center for Safe Schools and the various Head Starts throughout the organization. This is our values, how they're growing from when they were adopted back a couple months ago. And so we're at right now 471 billion that has been certified, and there's approximately another 12 billion that has not been certified yet. So if all that goes through, 484 billion will be the number at the end of the year that we will end up. And so we will have 51,000 additional at the end of the year if all that materializes. The collections for the year, we're at 62,558. And again, most of the revenues are going to come in December and January. So right now, there's only very little collections from delinquent and penalty and interest. Disbursements for the month, which are the detail, the register is posted on our website. 500 checks totaling $1,440,697. 868 transactions, $143,938. 6 transfers, $1,776,934. A total disbursements of $3,361,569. All the detail is posted on our website and is part of your documents. Segment information for the first 2 months, we have education certification as minus 51,286, records management positive 113,874, school-based therapy services minus 816,419, and schools at minus 2,151,249. This is where I was mentioning to you that the revenues right now in schools are about 50,000. This number is said to be about 4,100,000 next month. Some of the contracts have not been signed by the school district, therefore we could not bill them yet. So that billing will go out here this month. So you will see this number change to about 4.1 million in the next month. So we'll make this one, wipe that out in the new fiscal year, in the new next month. Choice partners holding steady at 63% benefit ratio, a benefit variance of 1,018,367 for year to date for the first 2 months. The budget amendments for the month of November, general fund 110,000, and then the special revenues $809,084. The first one in the general fund is an internal transfer with no effect on fund balance. It's just $10,000 for sire therapeutic horsemanship expenditures for High Point East. It's just a transfer between accounts. Expenditures of $55,000 for 2 additional school division positions. We will be bringing some additional revenue to the board in the next few months so that we can bring in some of that revenue for these 2 new positions. $55,000 to be shared by AB West and AB East. And then $47,456 transfers between accounts for digital education for expenditures. They're just transferred between accounts. They're just recodings between the Teaching and Learning Center payroll codes. So those are not amendments. They're basically just transfers. Scholastics Writing Program, $15,818. The reason you see them here is because it's a transfer between 2 divisions. And so anytime you have a transfer between two divisions, we have to present it for board approval. Again, an internal transfer for SIRE, and this is the $10,000. TLC Speaker Series, internal transfer, $15,818. Scholastic Art Writing, $31,638. And Winter Conference, $15,818. Again, those are internal transfers between different accounts. It's a matter of just recoding some of the payroll between the different accounts. In terms of the grants or special revenue, we have a rollover for funds from the Brown Foundation for $5,226. And then we have to adjust the placeholder. When we do the budget, we do an estimate of the grant amount. And so sometimes it comes in higher or lower. And so when it comes in higher or lower, we adjust it. And so here we have adjustments for Fund 216, $8,000 for 20, Fund 475, $10,333, Fund 201, Adult Ed, $44,923, Fund 230, Adult Ed, $226,000, Fund 498, Adult Ed, $793, Fund 498, again, Adult Ed, $315. And then we have a Head Start Fund 205, $507,482. Funds 206, $55,135. Fund 479, Head Start also $153,352. Fund 215, Head Start $257,076. Fund 234, Adult Ed, $40,253. Fund 223, Adult Ed, $7,866. And Fund 288, Case, $83,930. Those are adjustments to the actual grants that carry forward or that need to be either increased or decreased because they need to be, some funds have already been spent And so in the new fiscal year is a lesser amount that needs to be adjusted. In terms of our construction, we did not have a PFC meeting this month. However, year-to-date expenditures are $5,867,899. We have earned interest earnings of $452,177. Available cash is $6,820,558 as of October 31st. We have retainage payable of $205,705. You have listed all the payments year-to-date. The most recent one since last month was Weber Construction payment number 9 for $833,738. And so here's the project income to date as to how much is available, $6,579,229, and how much has been spent since 2017. The substantial completion date is January the 20th. And so the next item is the Educational Foundation. Yes?
Do we have a percentage of completion?
Percentage of completion in terms of, I have to calculate it for you. I can tell you out of the $8.9 million, we spend roughly $4.1 million, so it's roughly about 48% of the construction contract.
But
so,
does that translate to what's actually built out there right now?
No, not necessarily. This is just the building so far. Yeah, they haven't. Do you know the percentage? About 70% complete.
Excellent.
But they have not built everything yet, so we'll see the buildings coming through. It is on schedule at this time. The Educational Foundation, we have, as of October 34, $160,930, and in comparison to a year ago at the same time, just a difference of $30. I'm sorry, from a month ago. So there's only $60 activity there since last reported last month. Any questions on this report before I go into the investments? Yes, sir.
Can you explain what those two $55,000 budget adjustments were way back?
Yes. One is for I don't have the do you know Natasha, do you have the names of the positions? Yeah, occupational therapist and a compliance specialist. Those we will be bringing you an amendment for the revenue part of that in the coming months. Yes, and I should have included the name of the positions in the background. In terms of our investment report, before I go into the investment report, Mr. Sumner, you mentioned about the workflow at the audit committee meeting. There's a handout that looks like this in your place that has the workflow for our expenditures for both the disbursement and the procurement side. It's the last page. And this is presented to you every month with our financials. Okay, our monthly investment report as of October 31st. All our information is posted on our website, and the portfolio for total funds is $37,907,478, of which the general fund is $30,131,894, and then the PFC $6,820,493. The majority of the fund, 76%, is in the Techstar. We use TextPool, Lone Star, and Chase, and pretty much overnight, most of the funds as the interest rates climb. 98% of the PFC is the TextPool, and 1.3% is in Bank of Texas. Comparison from a year ago, our portfolio is 4% higher than a year ago at 1,420,112. Pretty much is overnight 31,086,986. We've earned 99,664 in our general fund, and the PFC 26,556. Our yield is 1.89 versus the benchmark of 1.52. The rates have started to go up, and then the last month started to regress a little bit there, and so you see a decline of about 30 basis points there from a month ago. So, our cash position is one that takes advantage of the rises, but if that continues to go down, then we'll need to do a little bit of extension of our portfolio. But we were hoping that those will reverse a little bit in the next couple months. Questions on any other reports? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now on to the consensus items. Do any of the trustees have a item that they want to pull to discuss, and we'll pass the rest? Going once, going twice? Okay. All in favor of the consensus agenda? Oh, need a motion?
So moved.
Second? Anybody? Second. Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? All opposed? First item in the non-consensus is report concerning Education Foundation of Harris County, including plan to phase out funding to the EFHC.
Thank you, President Flynn, members of the board. Last month when we met, we had an agenda item on there to discuss the Education Foundation. I think it was requested of the trustees to present to you a plan to phase out the supplemental support funding that originally started from the Harvey Relief Fund to go out to the ISDs in the form of scholarships, sponsorships, and supporting their foundations. What I'm going to do, though, before I get to the actual plan, is I want to kind of give you some historical context of what foundations look like throughout the state of Texas. First of all, with Harris County specifically, out of the 25 school districts, 22 of them have an education foundation. Out of the 22 school districts, 18 of them have dedicated staff members. I think we heard Mr. Cantu mention that last month, where he actually serves on one of those foundations, that the vast majority of the education foundations have a person that's dedicated to the education foundation. Out of those 18 dedicated school districts that have dedicated staff members, 11 of them are either in part or fully paid by the school district. So that is not an anomaly whatsoever. In our model, what we've actually done is we've watered that down even more, because we have cabinet members who serve as liaisons, and Dr. Amesqua assists with some financial support. In the state of Texas, 40% of the ISDs pay their foundation staff. 21% of pay part of the foundation staffing. That's for the entire state of Texas. So I think there were some questions on whether internal support actually provides, internal staff actually provides support for education foundations throughout the state of Texas, and it's not an anomaly whatsoever. You know, Dr. Amesqua made a point towards the end of the discussion that was really a valid point that I failed to point out to the board, and that is historically our education foundation has served many purposes, and some of those purposes have gone through an evolution. We've talked a lot about how the foundation was primarily programmatic, where it was doing the EcoBots program, and now it's trying to become more philanthropic. But the Education Foundation also has a 501c3, which serves many roles where it supports several other divisions that we have. Two of the biggest divisions that it supports is CASE, which is our after-school program, and then it also supports our Head Start program, where money flows through the 501c3 to be able to go out to those specific divisions. Any modifications to the foundation, or whether it doesn't exist or not, will have more impact than just the foundation alone. It will ultimately impact Head Start and our CASE program. So I think that that's important to recognize. What this chart does is shows you a historical trend of the money coming through the Education Foundation versus the money that Harris County has been dedicating to the Education Foundation. If you look at fiscal year 2016, you see that $690,000 were coming to HCDE and going out to various programs, and this is when the Education Foundation was running an EcoBots program, so we were getting a lot of philanthropic dollars to support that program, along with the money that was coming through the 501c3 to support Head Start and CASE. In the orange, you see that the $198,000 was going out. And at the time, and I'll show you in this next graph, we had several employees, but the biggest one being we had a CEO of the Education Foundation that was actually the Harris County Department of Ed was supplying the money to be able to pay that gentleman's salary. In 2017, you see how there is a decrease in not only the money coming in, but also the money going out to support the foundation. Some of that is somewhat of an illusion, because what happened is the EcoBots program, I moved that to our CASE program, our after-school program, so they were running it. So along with that went a lot of the dollars that went to support that. But the biggest reduction was we no longer had a CEO to run our Education Foundation, and we went to more of a model where someone would serve as a liaison to support the foundation. As you can see, the numbers have gone down each year, and they're hopefully flattening out, but some of that's due to there not being staff with the Education Foundation to go out there and try to gin up money to support some of the programs and initiatives that we have and request of the foundation to do. What this graph shows is back in 2016, there was a CEO, a COO, an accountant. Then the next year, the CEO was gone. We still had a COO, an accountant. Then finally, we just had an accountant, and now we don't have any dedicated staff just for the foundation. The only staff that really is assisting the foundation is Ms. Bartz and Dr. Ameswa, who I've directed to support and serve as liaisons for the foundation in Harris County Department of Ed. So the proposal that I've put out to the board several times, we've had feasibility studies on this. I have an agenda item on this agenda, and it was the same one that was on last month's agenda, was the money that was originally created to be a Harvey Relief Fund that I believe Trustee Moore and several others got behind right after the catastrophe of Hurricane Harvey. What I would propose to the board, and I'll making somewhat of an amendment to that. Initially, I was requesting that we send $500,000 to the foundation that could go out in the form of sponsorship, scholarships, and grants. What I would say that we should do while we wait for our foundation to get its legs back and become more philanthropic is perhaps what we need to do is do $300,000 for the year 2020, $200,000 for the year 2021, and $100,000 for the year 2022. Now, I need to make something clear. This money isn't to keep the foundation up and going and alive. That's not what I'm requesting. The foundation is alive. It's trying to regenerate itself and grow back into, or change shapes into a more philanthropic foundation where it was programmatic. This money is to go out to provide supplemental support to educational entities throughout Harris County. Obviously, the primary goal would be to go to the 25 ISDs and support them in their foundations, whatever academic initiatives that they have. But we could also support programs like our adult education and maybe even our Head Start programs. And I think that that's a purpose that our foundation should do countywide, not just with Harris County Department of Ed. So in the action steps moving forward, there's two things that I would draw your attention to. I have put back on there the agenda item, which is an action item, 7C, to request for the board to release this money for the foundation to start utilizing it in the form of scholarships, sponsorships, and grants. But in addition to that, the foundation would agree to provide reports to the trustees of how that money was being dispersed. Ultimately, the goal would be to phase out the contributions to the foundation. So it might be able to get matching donations from other, philanthropic organizations that wish to do so. But this would be assisting the foundation in trying to get legs on its own to be able to have its own revenue stream and its consistent donors that wanted to assist other educational entities throughout the county. Questions, comments, and concerns?
I don't think that you've actually answered the question we wanted answered as to how you were going to phase out our participation with administration expenses. I think you have clarified the fact that maybe that those items being spent aren't as large as maybe some of us thought. I will, reserve my comments on your agenda items to when the agenda items come up. But what we're wanting to know is what's the plan that we won't be providing and basically all the administration and services for the foundation.
Well, maybe I misunderstood exactly what the action item was when we left last time, because I thought it was just a plan for how the money would be spent. I think we have an issue when it comes to the actual staff and their support that they provide the foundation. I have no issue with my staff providing support to the Education Foundation. And I don't think that that's an anomaly to anything that happens throughout the entire state of Texas. Ultimately, I would love the foundation to be able to afford its own staff, but there's no issue at all with HCDE staff supporting our Education Foundation.
Okay, it mentioned in the presentation was the fact that the foundation used to have its own accountant. So why wouldn't the plan be that at some point the foundation would have its own accountant?
That's a possibility. Right now, I would like to see the foundation be able to start getting its own philanthropic dollars, and if it could get it to the extent where it needed a full-time or a part-time accounting, and they can pay for it themselves, that'd be great.
Well, one thing that I don't know what the balance is of August 31st of 19, but the previous foundation report says that they had $84,000 on hand at the end of the year. And so I'm wondering why we are continuing to expend our monies when they have funds for themselves.
Dr. Meswin?
Yes. The majority of those funds are restricted. They're for a specific purpose. They cannot be used for administration or non-specific use. There's a restriction in each one of those. And in the report, it says that the level of amount that is restricted, and I can provide that the breakdown between that 84,000.
These grants are allowing administrative expenses, right?
1%.
Okay, so that 1% is very little. Okay,
8,000 at best.
So there's the foundation is supposed to raise money for use for administration, as well as the grants for specific use. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right.
Well, I see the expenditures going down, but I think we need to have that explained to us as to what those available funds would be, and I think we need a whole lot more study on this matter, but we'll cover that in the agenda items.
And I might be jumping the gun too, and this may be later agenda item, because some of those programs also depend on, if I remember right, some of those programs require money, because that's another part. I don't remember if it was explained that much last meeting, as in some programs require you to have some skin in the game. So if you're going to apply for certain grants, don't certain programs require that you actually put your own money in for some of those things?
Yeah, some of them require a match or some type of in-kind, and they make it a requirement that you have to meet a certain percentage, that you're going to spend, by the department before you get some of those grants. In the report, the annual report, there is a schedule that tells you how much is restricted and how much is unrestricted. Last time that I recall, there were less than 10,000 in available as unrestricted. The majority of that is restricted, which is the money that comes from the endowment that goes to CASE. The majority of that bulk of that 84,000 is the endowment fund.
Did the dollars out that we just got that report include payroll facilities and accountant, or is that not part of that? That we absorb that as HCDE, and then?
Yeah, it's only the time that Ms. Bartz and I spend, and it's very minimal. Typically, it's anywhere between 1 hour to maybe 2 hours a month.
Okay, so that was the part that he was saying was included?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so is any of that in-kind contributions?
We recorded at the end of the year the income contributions. We used to have an office for the foundation. We no longer have an office for them. We just basically have a file cabinet.
Any other questions from the board?
Yes, one more. I guess for the superintendent, mentioned that the endowment money that funds our after-school program. So is it fair to say that if we didn't have a foundation in our name, that we wouldn't be able to receive that money for our after-school programs?
That is correct.
It is a prerequisite of the grant that you have to have a 501c3 designation before they can award that to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is consider prohibition of the use of any HCDE resources in support of the Harris County Education Foundation, including but not limited to, as said. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm still not sure I understand why we have this agenda item here, and it seems as though that I just can't wrap my mind around why an entity wouldn't want a foundation to even exist, because I see this action item as one that would make the Education Foundation go away. And it's not hurting this organization. I don't know that it's hurting anything. It's helping people. And this is almost like a poison pill to make it disintegrate and go away. So that's my first issue with it. My second issue is the overarching and, it's reaching into running the daily operations of the organization. How is it that the board is going to direct my staff what they can and cannot do? My staff reports to me as the superintendent. And I've read it before that every single board meeting we have, that our president reads a statement that says, as trustees, we're here to set the goals, listen to reports from the superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and make policy for the district. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management of day-to-day operations of the department are the responsibility of the superintendent. But we have an action item here that is going to direct my cabinet members to what they will and won't do. And I do not understand it. So I have two issues with this. I feel like that this item is designed to kill the Education Foundation, which I've never known of this Education Foundation doing anything. We just said that the amount of space it's taking up is a file cabinet, and that I've delegated my staff to spend an hour. So that's my first problem. The second problem I have is we're on a slippery slope when the board can put an item on here to direct other employees, other than the superintendent, to what they will and won't do, which is superseding the authority of the superintendent. The Board of Trustees are responsible for supervising the superintendent. And if something's wrong, you deal with me with that. So that's my issues with this.
Let me address this item. First of all, this is a policy decision of the board to be made, and it's not an attempt to direct the superintendent's efforts to and its staff. We're trying to, in this item, we're trying to separate the foundation from the department. And right now, frankly, the department is running the foundation. And this is what we're trying to say, and what we wanted the superintendent to do is to give us a report, and number A is how we're going to cause this separation to occur and how long it would take to do it. We didn't get that report. We just got examples, and I had quite a bit to do with Spring Branch ISD. I know exactly how their foundation works, and I understand that it's much easier for a district foundation to raise funds than it is for a county-wide foundation. But what we're trying to do with this agenda item is to have a plan as to how we're going to separate these two entities. Right now, the foundation is going out for grants, saying they're in partnership with HCDE, but we haven't ever, as a board, been asked to partner with the foundation in our day-to-day operations. We recently just got information about a grant request that says that the foundation is going to partner with Fortis Academy. We haven't heard anything about that. And what are they going to do for Fortis Academy? So this is just, the superintendent is correct. It may be a strict action, but he has not provided any information as to how the foundation would separate itself. And so I would like to give an amendment that this agenda item be tabled until next month, and then the superintendent can actually have time to do what we asked him to do. And I'd like it for it in writing as to what the plan is, what the resources of the department he would like to use. Right now we have one employee who apparently is running all the operations of the foundation, which I think may be okay. But we know that the department is spending more than a couple of hours a month effort, and they're spending dollars effort. And we need to know what the plan is to continue in the future. So I would like to offer to table this for one more month.
Do you have a second?
Mr. Wolf, if you agree, it's a friendly amendment.
Sure.
Is there any discussion with regard to tabling item B in the non-consensus? All in favor of tabling
Can I get some I'm so sorry to interrupt. Just some clarification, Mr. Sumners. Is the motion only to table, or is the motion to table and to receive a report from the superintendent in writing what the plan is and what resources of the department that he would like to use?
I think that's what I was agreeing to.
Yeah. Let's make it a combination that we do need to get the report that we asked for last month.
This question about
Table it.
We have discussion. Go ahead.
I'm not sure why we're tabling this. I would actually probably, if you're requesting me to do something, then perhaps you should probably put it in writing so we can all agree that that's exactly what I need to do, because I think our interpretation of what we hear are different. I have no issue at all with HCDE staff supporting the Education Foundation. And the only difference it would be next month is I would type that to you and put it to you in writing. But I don't have an issue with that. I have never seen or ever even heard of an organization that doesn't support its own education foundation. I've never heard of that. It is as if the foundation has done something wrong, which ours hasn't done anything wrong, but try to help people. And no one has even answered the question of why you would want to destroy a foundation that's trying to help people. I don't understand that.
I think the motion is to table this.
So my
not
question
destroy.
is why do we need to table an item to destroy the Education Foundation? Why do we need to table it? Why we need to vote on it now? I mean, I don't vote, but I don't know that we need to wait to do that.
Well, I think a lot of the misinterpretation here is that you're saying we're wanting to destroy it, and I don't see that as being part of this whole thing. So, that's why maybe if we had it in writing, we could see, look, this is a good plan, and it's not trying to destroy the foundation. We can agree with that, but I agree with Mr. Sumners, Trustee Sumners, that I didn't get the information that I wanted to hear about what the plan is. I did catch, and I'm sure that's going to come up in a minute. You wanted $300,000, and then $200,000, and then $100,000. That's $600,000. That's what I heard, and I think it'd be better if we had a plan.
Well, in reference to tabling the item, we have two issues that I think that we need to sort out. We have the issue of the original request of the money coming through the foundation to support educational entities in Harris County through scholarships, grants, and sponsorships. That's one issue. The separate issue is the support, the internal support that HCDE is providing to the foundation. Those are two separate issues. And so in reference of tabling and with this agenda item, I have had issue that the board is overreaching its boundaries and telling me how to delegate my staff and their responsibility. That's a whole separate thing than from voting on whether the $300,000 goes through the foundation. It's two different things.
Comment here. You say you're confused about what we asked for. Read that statement in A above. Report concerning Education Foundation in Harris County, including plan to phase out funding to the EFHC. Now, why isn't that clear to you as to what we were asking for?
Yeah, we've faded out the funding. $300,000 the first year is $200,000
no,
the second
you
year.
didn't phase it out.
Okay,
It phased
okay,
itself
okay.
out.
Why don't we address those comments to me and not banter back and forth? Thank you.
So to the tabling of the item, I'm not sure why we need to do that, but I would be happy to be able to communicate this probably through writing, and I think it would help both sides to have a better understanding of what the expectation and articulating
I
points.
call the question.
Okay. Well, let's not call the question if there's no more discussion.
Just vote.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none. All in favor of tabling and requesting a written report with regard to the same language as A, which is phase out funding to the EFHC. All those in favor of tabling it, please raise your hand. All those in favor of not? Opposed? All those opposed? All right. All right. Motion fails. We're back to considering the prohibition on use. Is there any discussion with regard to?
Call the question.
If there's
Don't
no
need to call
discussion,
it.
we don't have
Don't
to
need
call
to
the
call the
question.
question.
Okay.
Don't need to call it.
Okay. All in favor of?
There's no motion.
The motion was there, yeah. The motion was tabled, and the motion to table was not there.
Yeah.
Oh, you're saying that they did the friendly amendment thing?
Yes,
Okay.
and so
Okay,
there's
is
no
there a motion on the floor with regard to consideration prohibition as discussed in item B?
I withdraw it.
No, yeah, there's no motion right
No
now.
motion,
So
but
if there's no motion, it'll die.
I was the one that was going to make it, so.
Seeing no motion, moving on to the second one. Discussion and possible action regarding HCDE providing funding to the Education Foundation of Harris County. Do I have a motion? Seeing no motion, item dies. Next item. Consider approval to amend CH Local FY20 expenditures approval list to add quality security systems. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of item D? Motion passes 6-0. Next item, consider approval of contract for replacement of the flooring in Conference Center.
So
Do I have a
moved.
motion? Who did that?
Second.
Any discussion?
Can we get some information about this?
So the carpet in the conference center is 11 years old. It is, I went back and get some data for this. We've had over 51,000, since 2011 to now, we've had over 51,000 reservations towards that area. We've had also, going back, we've estimated about 1.3 million individuals that have used or have been in that conference center. So we looked at the carpet. It has a lot of coffee spills. We've had it cleaned, but it is wearing and wearing badly. And as we grow and have more conferences, reservations, we felt like it was time to replace that carpet. It is on a replacement improvement program, although it was supposed to be a little bit later, but we've moved it up considering the age of the carpet and the wear on the carpet.
How much have y'all moved it up? What length of time?
About 4 years, actually. It should have been about, yeah, because we usually do about carpet between 15 years is what you look at. So we moved it up.
So I guess my question is, how did you get to this number? That seems like a lot of money to me.
As far as the cost, you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, this is what we
Is
went
that,
after.
is that about typical?
Yes, sir. For the amount, because we're talking about the entire space up there. We're talking about the entrances and then the 3 areas that we have conference.
Do you know how many
rooms.
square feet this is?
Looking on their quote here.
I guess the better
About
question
16
is, yeah,
Go ahead. It's about 1,600 square feet.
okay.
It's gotta be way.
Well, that's probably 16,000. I miss it 0. Hey, let me clean these glasses real quick. That's probably- Clean my glasses.
Danny,
200. It's about 80 feet, I think. It's probably a little bit more than
Yeah.
200.
Yeah.
16 and 20,000.
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Yep.
Discussion? Vote. All in favor of item E, please raise your hand. Item F, consider approval of Amendment 1 to interlocal contract between Harris County Department of Education and Stafford MSD. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'd like to get some more information on this.
These are for business services that we're providing to Stafford Municipal. They did not have a CFO, so we've been providing technical assistance to them.
So, Aces, do you go out there often yourself?
But every other day.
Oh, wow.
Are they going to reimburse us for this?
Yes.
The 90,000 is.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of item F, please raise your hand. Item G, consider approval of the one full-time equivalent occupational therapist position and one full-time equivalent compliance and technical support officer. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion? How much is this going to cost? Is there a cost or is this offset?
Yes, it's part of the budget amendment. It was $55,000 per staff member.
But are we going to be reimbursed with fees, or this is just
we will bring a budget amendment for increase in revenue.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor of item G, please raise your hand. Item H, consider approval of the HCDE Early Head Start and Head Start School Readiness Goals. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'd like to get maybe a brief synopsis from Ms. Peacock about this, if possible. I told you I wanted to hear from you today.
You did. Good afternoon. As a part of our accountability for the Head Start program, we are responsible for setting goals for both our infant and toddlers and our preschoolers and have learning objectives for them, and then work to measure those. And it's one of the things that Dr. Breaux was talking about today, that they work with us to help to respond to our accountability goals. So we gather data 3 times a year, beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year. And our measure of success is based on the amount of growth that we see on the students. And so while we teach lots of concepts and we teach lots of different goals, we have chosen these goals to focus on for reporting.
Ask you a question. How much do these goals differ from last year's?
The early Head Start goals are the same because we need to keep them a while to see so we can actually look at it from year to year. There has been some adjustments in the Head Start goals because we changed our assessment tool to CLI Engage, and so your measurements have to line up with your assessments. And so it's the bottom 3 goals that we made adjustments to on the Head Start. So like you can't have a goal to count from, so let's go with children will recognize 1-digit numerals, identify common shapes, count sets of up to 15 using one-to-one correspondence, perform basic adding and subtraction operations, and rote count beyond 20. Well, if the assessment doesn't actually assess to see if they can count rote from 1 to 20, then you have to adjust the goal. I think originally we may have been like to 30 or something like that. So we adjusted it to match with the assessment tool.
Would you like to tell us what CLI means?
It's on the University of Texas, and it's the funding that came from the state of Texas for the University of Texas. And I'm going to just be honest, I can't give it to you right now. I can't remember exactly what it means.
You've proved my point. I'm just not stupid.
No, you're not. It's too many acronyms in Head Start. I completely agree.
Ms. Peacock, you had mentioned earlier that either this year or next year we're celebrating 25 years?
Yeah, we're 20. We're coming up on 20 years, yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional comment? All in favor of item H, please raise your hand. Item I, consider approval of a 36-month lease for copy services with Xerox Business Solutions Southwest. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Item J. Consider approval of payment in lieu of tax agreement with Seaboard International, Inc. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion?
Yes. My normal question, has this already been approved by Harris County?
It's in the process. The amount of the tax is only $414.
Yeah. Well, it's been our policy not to do this until the county passes.
And before we
it.
sign, we can follow up with the county to see if they've already approved it. Maybe they're being in the process of doing that.
Okay, so you can delay it until
Till they
such
approve
time.
it. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Can we put a stipulation on this that we only approve it if Harris County approves it?
Sure.
If Mr. Norris and Mr. Cantu agree to that amendment, you can just do it as a friendly amendment.
Sure.
Okay.
All in favor of the payment in lieu of tax contingent on Harris County approving it? Raise your hand. 6-0. Item K, consider approval of the service agreement with Julie Smith to provide disability consulting services to HCDE Head Start, Early Head Start, and EHS, Child Care Partnerships. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your hand. Item L, discuss and possible action to fill Harris County Department of Education trustee seats. Do I have a motion? What would be your motion?
I guess we have to name, well, we're talking about Georgia's seat. So to move to discuss action of filling, what's the position? It's position 1, precinct 2, for filling that seat.
We can discuss it.
Nominee is what I think they're looking.
We can discuss it at this point, yeah. What do you want to do?
Either we put a nominee or we pass it.
Okay. Do we have a nominee? Do we have a plan? What kind of motion do we want?
I would move that we table this.
So, well, the motion is to discuss filling this position. So I guess the question becomes, how many people applied for the, there's 2?
One.
One by the deadline.
We had one timely and one late.
Okay, the one was last month, and then who's the other?
There was a second one that was sent out that applied quite a bit late, at least 3 weeks after the deadline, 3 weeks after the last board meeting.
No, there was Marvin Morris that.
Yeah.
Well, did he submit an application or did he just call you?
He submitted an email that I forwarded.
I don't think he submitted an application though.
Well, if we don't have a motion to put him on the table, let's continue on with either whatever you want to discuss or put a name out.
Okay, so the 2 were, okay, well, 2, potentially 3. We have the gentleman, hold on. The first gentleman who submitted during the one, because last month we had one timely application, right? And the gentleman's name, I had his card. Tom Carter.
Cotter.
Tom Carter.
Yeah.
Marvin Morris submitted an email. I don't remember. I remember seeing the email, but I don't remember if the affidavit or.
It was an incomplete application. Is that what you said?
I don't remember if there was affidavit. I know the last one that came in. When did that come in? That came in a couple weeks ago, and that was Ms. Hinojosa. Okay. So I guess the question goes to the board. I guess is, are we looking at filling? Did we ever get an AG opinion? We ever get an opinion back from the county attorney on, or the I'm sorry, the Texas AG on whether what's
the application of the 180-day rule? We have not received the opinion yet. It's still pending.
So the only thing that's new would be Ms. Hinojosa's application.
Are you proposing her as a nominee?
Sure. Ms.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion?
I'm sorry.
Discussion is that she didn't comply with our requirements.
Amy Hinojosa, by the way, for the record. And we'll say that again, Don, I'm sorry. You said the discussion was she didn't apply by the deadline?
We don't have to have a deadline to submit names. We
No.
don't have to have any of that stuff. We can submit names, or we can actually create a process to find people to submit names. We don't have any restrictions at this point. This is what this discussion is about.
Correct.
If the name has been submitted and nominated and seconded, and we're discussing that item right now, or we can just go to a vote.
It's the only thing that's new since last month. That's why I'm saying. It's last month. That's the only thing that's changed since last month.
So my issue is, and I did meet Ms. Hinojosa downstairs, is I don't have a resume, and I'm not really, I don't know anything about her other than I met her a couple of minutes ago. So I don't feel comfortable voting in favor of anybody, really anybody in those circumstances. I just don't think it. I think if we are going to consider her seriously, we need at least a resume or something like that. I think that would be reasonable.
Any additional discussion before we go to the vote?
And that's in the email. So if we do table, that's fine. But I don't know. It's in the email from. It's in the email you sent though, right? Because I'm looking at it now.
I don't think I received it from you. I think that went to the committee.
Okay.
You're right. You're right. I'm looking at the email. So I'm sorry. Yeah, I got the email, but yes, it's just me, Josh, Don, and Sarah. So you're right. So I'm assuming the rest of the board did not get the email. So okay, I thought this was. I'm just looking at who's in the sent file. So.
Okay, we can either move to a vote, or we can take the name back off for later. What would you like to do?
It sounds like nobody else got the email. So if the rest of the board wants to see her, it sounds like the board wants to see her resume before they have a chance to vote. Is what it sounds like.
Are you withdrawing your motion then?
Can I rephrase it then? Well, can I make a friendly to?
I'll tell you what. Just to clarify, I'll put this agenda item back on next month, so we can have the same discussion next month, and then we'll all be informed.
Can we agree that the position is open until filled, so that an applicant isn't labeled as having submitted late or?
Right. That was part of 2 meetings ago, I believe. We said it. We don't have to set a procedure. We can bring names up, and whatever information, you bring a name up, we want information. As trustee brings it up, you can sit there and say, hey, I want a resume on this person, I want reasons. And we don't have to set up a procedure. Just like right now, you brought a name up, you second it, we can vote on it. Or you can withdraw, and we'll just get the information and bring the same agenda up next month.
Talking for yourself instead of for the board. I think I don't have a problem with having open submissions, but I think that whoever submits has to comply with our requirements as to the documentation that they need to provide.
We haven't set up any documentation
Josh.
yet.
Yes, we have. We're not going to change the documentation requirement just because you want to open it up. We had that expired. Okay, but I'm saying is that I'm not going to vote for anybody that doesn't meet that documentation requirement.
Nor will
I think we need to continue it. We can open it up to anybody. I think that's fine, because Danny and I both thought the original situation wasn't workable. So open submissions until somebody's approved, but they have to provide the documentation, the letter.
Right now we've got a motion on. I understand you're getting ready to set up another motion. Right now we have a motion on the floor with regard to Ms. Hinojosa.
Okay, so I think what he's saying is in line with it. So if the discussion is, I guess it's all tying back to the same position. So the discussion becomes, wait a minute. Wait a minute, if I withdraw the motion, then we go back to
Discussing.
Discussing it's the same
procedure.
item though.
No. Right now, you've got a motion of a name.
Okay.
Okay.
I could withdraw. Let me withdraw and go back to the procedure because that's
Okay.
yeah. I'll withdraw it there.
So noted.
I've got a question. Or I think Eric has a question.
The question I have is to the board. Do you want to, and would y'all consider maybe advertising in the Chronicle or some newspaper to get nominees? If we want to do that, I think that's an option.
Done that.
Well, wait,
We never did that.
I think we had this vote last month and it was 3-3 with one abstention.
Okay, I need a motion. What is the motion?
So my motion would be just to keep the documentation requirements the same. So to fill position, what's the position? It's precinct 2, but position 1 for precinct 2. Keep the position open until filled. The same documentation requirements that Don and I came up before. I think it was like an affidavit, resume, and a letter of intent, basically.
Okay, so the motion would be to be considered by this board, they have to have those 3 items.
Yes.
And then when they have those 3 items, then they can actually be a nominee.
They could submit it to the whatever the link that was out before, but make sure it goes to us. And then I guess those need to come out in the future, needs to go out to the whole board so we can all see them.
But at any time now.
Yeah.
Yeah, would be your motion.
So we're just basically restricting as opposed to just a name. We're going to add the three items and say, in order for it to be nominated by us, we need to have those 3 items in place by agenda being in the agenda, or like, I mean, what if they gave us that information at 12:55, and then we bring up the name? I mean, that would be legal. What I'm saying is, do we want to put a time certain to receive those 3 items with your motion to have those 3 items?
No, because that's the issue we ran into last month. We had an expiration, and now we're fussing about whether it's expired or not. So I guess the point is, so like Ms. Hinojosa's, hers is in. It's just a matter that nobody else, only a couple of us saw it. So she would be one. I guess Mr. Cotter still is. I think the issue we had last month was that it was an applicant of 1. So that was the fuss last month. So the point is, so it could be Ms. Hinojosa, Mr. Cotter, and whoever else. By next meeting, we get a chance to actually see their whatever their 3 forms of documentation and compare them and see if anybody is the best fit for the board.
Would you add to your motion that they would have to be received at least a week before the board meeting?
I think that's setting up another process.
No, but it'll stay that way for each meeting, as long as it's a week before, because we could literally, somebody could walk up here with those 3 items right now and ask to be considered. So what I'm saying, what I believe Mr. Sumner's is saying, is that he wants it just a week before, just so we have time to digest that, and so we can actually come in here and vote, and then the problem won't be, I just got the information. They'll have a week. And then, so we'll say any nominee that comes before us has to have those 3 items a week before. And that can, for the January meeting, the February meeting, it doesn't matter, just before they're considered, they have to have it here with us. So we've got 2 right now. I know we'll be able to get the one that you were talking about. He'll have his information by then as well.
When is the agenda set?
It's 10 days before.
I'm just.
We're not going to have names on the agenda. We'll just have, like this says, discuss impossible action. So we're not going to put a name on the agenda. We're simply going to say, with the motion, that we're going to have a 7-day look-see. Go ahead.
Could we waive that if we changed our mind? Is that a yes? If we agreed to this and then we changed our mind and wanted to get out of it, we just the majority votes. Okay, that's all. I was just making sure. Okay, so it doesn't matter.
That's true. We could take up a name right now. That's right.
It don't matter.
It's true.
Even if we create.
But we're trying to make it. We're trying to make it a fair process so that everybody knows the rules of the game.
Well, but you can waive the rules if you change your mind.
Okay.
So it's a request, but not a requirement. That's what it sounds like.
We're trying to be civil here. So.
I know.
We just want a week.
I was just pointing out a big hole. That's it.
It is a big hole. So, but that'll also be.
Well, let me, Eric, are you saying that we could change our mind and waive the week?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah.
It's not in policy.
Yep.
Why isn't it a policy if we vote for it?
Even if it's a policy, we can waive all policies.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't matter. If you want to go with it, I'll vote yes, but just keep in mind, we change our mind.
Just so that everybody knows that if something comes up at 6 days, we'll sit there and say it came in 6 days, and that'll be a reason. Then we can waive the motion and vote for them anyway. Yeah, we can certainly consider anybody.
Well, if that's the case, then you can.
I know it's
you can might as well get everybody's information.
Okay. So let's just. It might be easier. What is your motion right now? Right now, we've got a motion of 3 plus possibly 7 days or no days. Just put the 3 requirements, and then that'll be easier. That'll address Trustee Gibbs' concerns.
It won't, but I'll vote for it. Don't matter.
Okay, we can say 7 days. If we decide to change our mind, it's fine. But it's at least 7 days before the meeting to the regular board meeting, or if we decide to have a call. How does that work?
The board's already taken action previously to only consider filling this, at least Dr. Moore's position, at regular board meetings.
Okay. So that's right. We can waive that too. Okay. So before the positions. Where do I start with this? Okay. So it was to fill the position 1 for precinct 2. Keep the requirements for the 3 forms of documentation for the applicants and make sure that they have it submitted at least a week before the next board meeting to be considered
as a nominee.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any additional discussion?
Can we submit a request to Trustee Moore to reapply for his position? I'm kind of joking, Josh.
Thank you.
But he is still in his house in his district.
Okay. Okay. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Okay. Seeing none. Moving on. Consider possible revision to policy BE local regarding submission of agenda items by trustees. Okay. I submitted this because we keep running into, we get the agenda 10 days before. Then we have like a few hours to digest before we have to make an immediate decision as to whether or not we want to have another agenda item. So what I would like to do is get the policy committee together to come up with a policy that would allow some more flexibility in that policy that we have that's midnight at 10 days before.
You're the only one that gets it then.
Okay. So y'all don't even get it until?
No.
I've got a question.
Nobody gets their agenda except myself?
And Mr. Colbert to review before it gets posted. And then the board receives the final posted version.
We don't get it until
like they all should get the board thing. As soon as it's prepared for me, the whole board should get that so that they can address that.
We get it like on.
Well, that's my motion is that we construct a policy committee to discuss the policy BE and bring it to the board meeting, next board meeting, and then we'll discuss whatever policy that they came up with.
Second.
Any discussion with regard to setting up a policy committee?
I've got a question.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, how many days do you think would be adequate?
We're not going to discuss it right now.
Well,
but you can get on the meeting and
I
then you can
understand, but
discuss
that
it and then they'll bring
impacts
it
how I
forward.
would vote on this item. Because
As to whether or not setting up a committee?
Yeah, because right now it's 12 days, I think, before the meeting. How much time do you need? Because
Same discussion once the policy is drawn.
I understand, but right now the policy is 12 days before. As I recall, I think the board president and vice president finalized that with the superintendent like over that weekend, maybe the next day. So it sounds like you may have 1 day between a request and when you need to finalize the agenda.
Well, I'm a firm believer of committee process, and we can debate it as a committee of a whole right now.
Well, I'm not debating
but-
it. I'm just asking
well, I
you how
mean,
much
that's what
time
we're
you
doing.
need.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. So
But
if
you-
we don't, if we can just give it to the committee, and then we can discuss whatever they came up with, and we can figure out their rationale, and then you can say
But
anything you want to, change
You're
it.
you're requesting it, so I'm just wanting to know how much time you think you need.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we have to have it in by 48 hours, so it can't be after that, 72 hours. So, I mean, it has to be sometime before that.
Well, right now, the deadline is a Friday, you better typically, so it sounds like you would want it before that Friday is my only question.
And we'll let them discuss that, and
But
are you volunteering to be part of the policy committee?
I'm asking what your request is gonna be of the policy committee, because right now, I don't think it's clear. But he's saying that he wants more time, so that would be prior to the current deadline.
Let me give you the problem, and we can discuss the solution right here, or we can give it to a committee. The problem is, I get the agenda, okay, and then I've got a limited number of hours, and now I just found out that the board doesn't even get the agenda at the same time I do.
We get it like the following Wednesday or Thursday.
You have no time. You can't put anything on there in response to anything that's on that agenda. And so what I want is to be able to have some time that the board members, the elected board, can respond to what is being presented to us by the administration. Okay, right now, at one point, the first meeting, I had to call an emergency meeting just to get something on the agenda so that I had 72 hours. I'd like to avoid that problem too. So this whole discussion that we're having right now, we'll probably have this exact same discussion in December, but at least we'll have the policy committee's report with this regard. That'll have all these incidental issues and questions answered, hopefully.
All right.
Any additional discussion? All in favor of convening the policy committee to discuss policy BE local? Please raise your hand. Okay, it is now 2:48, and we are going to go into executive session under Texas Government Code pursuant to any and all purposes permitted by sections 551.001 through 551.084, including but not limited to 551.071 and 551.074. It is, I've said it. Harris County Department of Education will reconvene after executive session. The time is 3:10. Do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion's been made.
Second.
All in favor? Right here.
Yeah.